For more than a decade, the British Army's Watchkeeper program was supposed to symbolize the United Kingdom's entry into the era of modern unmanned reconnaissance. Instead, it has become a cautionary tale, a high-profile, billion-pound effort that delivered too little capability, too inconsistently, for far too much money. A system derived from the Israeli Hermes 450, adapted for British needs and heavily localized, Watchkeeper struggled with technical faults, frequent groundings, an overcomplicated support framework and persistent shortages of qualified operators. The end result was a platform whose cost per flight hour spiraled into uncomfortable comparison with cutting-edge fighter jets, while offering only a fraction of their flexibility or reliability. Against the backdrop of intensifying global threats, political pressure and shrinking patience for underperforming legacy projects, the search for a replacement was inevitable. That search has now led London to an unexpected source, Ukraine. Among several contenders for the UK's Corvus program, which seeks a long endurance, division and corps-level intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance system, the Ukrainian Raybird unmanned aerial complex has emerged as one of the most compelling options. Developed by Sky Eaton and refined in the crucible of the full-scale Russian invasion, Raybird is not a concept born in conference rooms, it is a combat tool that has accumulated hundreds of thousands of flight hours under real fire, real electronic warfare and real operational urgency. This difference in origin story matters. Where Watchkeeper suffered from being engineered and bureaucratized into fragility, Raybird has been simplified, hardened and iterated in response to battlefield feedback, making it directly aligned with what modern armed forces genuinely require. At its core, Raybird is about endurance, persistence and adaptability. The system is capable of staying aloft for well over 24 hours, giving commanders extended coverage windows without the constant churn of launches and recoveries. That kind of persistence is vital for tasks such as tracking hostile movements, building a live picture of enemy logistics, supporting long-duration artillery missions and monitoring sensitive border or maritime zones. Just as important is the ability to integrate advanced payloads, including electro-optical and infrared sensors, communications relay packages and laser designation equipment that enables cooperation with precision-guided munitions. Rather than being locked into a rigid, proprietary architecture, Raybird is designed as a modular platform that can be tuned for different mission profiles and quickly updated as technology evolves. Equally significant for the British requirement is how Raybird moves and operates. Unlike systems that depend on prepared runways and extensive ground infrastructure, Raybird can be launched from compact, mobile catapults and recovered on short stretches of flat ground. That means it can follow maneuver units, disperse with them, and survive in an environment where fixed facilities are priority targets for enemy missiles and loitering munitions. Mobility also translates to discretion. A network of small, relocatable launch sites is far harder to disrupt than a handful of permanent airfields. For a future in which the UK expects to face sophisticated adversaries capable of striking deep and contesting the air domain, this kind of deployability is no longer a luxury but a prerequisite. The political and industrial logic behind a Raybird-based solution is just as strong as its technical credentials. The establishment of a joint production and integration venture in the United Kingdom to support Raybird directly answers concerns about sovereignty, job creation and supply security. It ensures that any selected configuration would not simply be imported off the shelf, but built and sustained on British soil with local expertise and supply chains. This structure fits neatly with London's broader push to accelerate acquisitions while still anchoring them in domestic industry, reducing dependence on vulnerable global logistics and giving the Ministry of Defence greater control over modernization paths, data security, and mission-specific tailoring. Choosing a Ukrainian combat-proven system would also send a clear strategic signal. Since the start of Russia's full-scale war, the UK has stood out as one of Ukraine's most committed partners. Adopting Raybird as a core element of British ISR capability would elevate that support into a genuine two-way partnership, not only training and weapons flowing east, but operational experience, innovation and mature technology flowing west. It would validate Ukraine's defense sector as a serious and competitive provider of high-end capabilities, challenging the long-standing assumption that only a narrow circle of traditional suppliers can meet demanding NATO standards. For Kyiv's industry, success in such a program would serve as a gateway to other allied markets and accelerate the shift from wartime improvisation to sustainable defense export potential. There is a deeper doctrinal shift embedded in this prospective move. Contemporary conflicts have made it clear that reliance on a few exquisite, expensive platforms is increasingly risky when adversaries possess precision strike weapons, advanced surveillance, and powerful electronic warfare. What is needed is an ecosystem, numerous, relatively affordable, adaptable systems that can be fielded in depth, lost without strategic shock, and iterated quickly as threats evolve. Watchkeeper, with its heavy footprint and unwieldy program culture, belongs to the era of slow, centralized procurement. Raybird belongs to the emerging paradigm of distributed, resilient capability, high endurance but cost-efficient, flexible in deployment, and oriented toward continuous improvement rather than one-time perfection on paper. Naturally, the path from interest to adoption is neither automatic nor guaranteed. British authorities will subject any candidate to rigorous evaluation, from interoperability with existing networks and compliance with airworthiness standards to cyber protection, training pipelines and lifecycle costs. Established suppliers will lobby hard, and institutional inertia never disappears. Yet the strategic context exerts its own pressure. The lessons drawn from Ukraine's battlefield show that those who adapt quickly survive, and those who cling to prestige projects risk irrelevance at best and disaster at worst. Systems that have proven themselves under dense enemy air defenses, persistent jamming and high operational tempo carry a credibility that no glossy brochure can replicate. If the United Kingdom ultimately selects Raybird or a derivative solution emerging from cooperation with Ukrainian industry, it will be doing far more than replacing one drone with another. It will be converting an expensive failure into an opportunity to redefine its approach to unmanned capability, shifting emphasis from legacy inertia to combat reality, from closed architectures to modularity, from isolated national projects to smart partnerships. For Britain, that choice would strengthen its forces and its industrial base. For Ukraine, it would cement its role as a creator, not only a consumer, of advanced defense technologies. And for Europe's security as a whole, it would signal that the future of air power is being written not just in traditional defense capitals, but in the skies where adaptation has become a matter of survival.